place on Earth has better weather.
Okay, time for our tropical update. We begin with a look at the big picture here. And as you can see here off the East Coast, it's looking good. And in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, all is quiet. But as we head our way west, we see the moisture coming up through southeast Texas and right up through the Mississippi River Valley. And then let's go on the other side of Central America. We see our hurricane. And this is Pauline. We'll give you the latest on this in just a moment. Farther east out in the Atlantic here, what's this little blob? It's Tropical Depression 7. And it's really not much of a system here, not affecting any land areas. It's way out over the open waters of the Atlantic. And if you are plodding along at home, here you have it, the latest from the Hurricane Center, 28.3 north, 52.6 west, 775 miles east-southeast of Bermuda. And the movement is east at 15. Here's a closer view of it with our satellite picture. See the blob out here, and that's in association with our tropical depression and really not expected to become a major player as it cruises out through the North Atlantic Sea. As we get you down into the eastern Caribbean, it's pretty quiet here in the islands, but once we get our way to the Virgin Islands and into Puerto Rico, we start to hit that moist plume, and it extends westward near Jamaica. And then over towards the Caymans, I do see some activity in the vicinity. Closing in on the San Juan radar, do see a few showers around, but really nothing too extraordinary at this early hour. Again, in Florida, we see lines of moisture coming on through here, and with these lines, the Central Peninsula do get some showers, so that's that flow coming in from the east. More lines out to sea here that'll have to be reckoned with. Now, as we get you into the western Gulf, you can see that moist axis, that moist plume coming on in. And again, the potential for very heavy rains in southeast Texas where flood watches have been issued. Now we get you into the hurricane. This is Pauline, and you can see the eye on Pauline right there. That's our center of circulation. And the pressure estimated at 960 millibars. The movement northwesterly at 6. This is expected to continue today. And the wind's 115 miles an hour. Center of circulation 995 miles south-southeast of Puerto Angel, Mexico. And the hurricane force winds extend out only about 35 miles from the center of circulation. So it is still about 60 miles offshore. Movement northwest at 6. So what's that tell you? It's going to take a little while longer before those hurricane force winds buffet the coast. Here's a look at our satellite picture, and you can see our center of circulation right here. There's the eye of the storm. Right here, that's where you have your hurricane force winds. And on ahead of the main area of high winds, we do see a band coming in towards the coast, producing some rains. And during the break there, I was checking out our Mexican radars that are available to us. And from Puerto Angel, we could see a band of rain just coming into the coast, and the real heavy band still well offshore. But within the next 12 hours or so, that could very well change. Way out ahead of that, see a band of heavy showers and storms in the vicinity of Acapulco. And with the storm in close proximity to the coast of Mexico, and it is forecast to probably make landfall in the next 24 hours, hurricane warnings are in effect from Punta Maldonado to Tapachula there on the coast of Mexico. So all residents in through here want to keep a close eye and follow the storm very closely. All right, here's Olaf, still a depression, really not too much to it, 15-0 north, 109.5 west, movement east-southeast at 5 miles an hour, really not a big player here. And here's our closer view with the satellite, and again, not a very well organized system. That'll just add some moisture into Mexico over the next couple of days. And speaking of adding moisture to the scene, old disturbance here moving south of the Hawaiian Islands. That's helping to ignite some very heavy rains on the Big Island, where there will be some localized flooding problems. Well, things are perking up in the tropics. We have a new tropical storm in the Atlantic. Its name is Fabian, and we'll give you the latest on that in just a moment. But the headliner is Hurricane Pauline in the Pacific, bearing down on southeast Mexico. And here you can see the seas all churned up yesterday off of Huatuco in Mexico. Residents there preparing for the storm now. 75 shelters have been opened in southeast Mexico, 75 emergency shelters, and the federal officials have closed 6 major ports between Acapulco and Puerto Madero. Landfall of Hurricane Pauline is expected later today and by early evening at the latest. So as we get into our tropical update, we'll show you the scene here with our picture and spin that into motion for you. I think we'll show it to you. Don't act up on me, computer. Not right now, please. Okay. Looks like we're stalled out here, and I certainly hope this does not be a sign of things to come. Believe it or not, things have stalled up. So, Marshall, you're going to have to do a little magic and give me show list 98 there and see what we have in there. So, it's off to Plan B. Unfortunately, the computer gremlins got us, and I thought I was going to get through the day without it. And as fate would have it, I did not escape the wrath of the computer. So we'll have to take what we have in the machine so far and see what we have here. Here's Fabian, the new storm in the Atlantic. It's not a threat to any land area if you are plodding along at home. 28.8 north, 50.7 west, 870 miles east southeast of Bermuda. Winds 45. Really no big deal. It's moving easterly at 20. And here it is. Somewhere in this mass of clouds is Fabian. And again, it's not a threat to any land area, and it's pulling its way on out to sea. And as fate would have it, we moved our satellite pictures. Let's get away from that. Moving our way farther to the west, things are very quiet here on the southeast coast of the United States. No threat for any significant tropical activity here. And as we take you down into the Caribbean, well, we still have beautiful weather here over the Windward Islands. But as we continue to move northward and westward, we hit that moisture plume here. And we have seen thick clouds over Puerto Rico this morning, and just a few showers, and all that moisture overhead. There could be a few heavy showers returning this afternoon. As we continue westward, the big story the past couple of days has been the moisture feed up into southeast Texas, and that continues again this morning as showers and thunderstorms have been bubbling up here in the western Gulf of Mexico. Here's Pauline, and the latest we have for you. 14.9 north, 96.0 west. That's center of circulation about 60 miles to the south-southeast of Puerto Angel, Mexico. Winds 130 miles an hour, and the storm moving northwesterly at 7. Say within the next 4 to 5 hours, we should see hurricane force winds moving into the coastal areas. Hurricane warnings are in effect. So those of you who are watching with satellite dishes should be rushing to completion all the necessary things that should be done, boarding up windows and getting the cars fueled up and stocking up on water and canned goods, because this is a dangerous storm, and it will be moving in this afternoon, high winds and a significant storm surge and the potential for very heavy flooding rains. Marshall.
Well, the Lone Star State braces for more rain. More on conditions in the region.
70 miles to the east-southeast of Bermuda. Top winds are 45 miles an hour, and it's moving just about straight east at 20 miles an hour. So this is going to just be moving out over the Atlantic and really not bother any land at all. Right down in there is the circulation center, and it's very hard to see where it is exactly from the satellite picture because it is not very well defined for anybody either as it drifts eastward.
place on Earth has better weather.
This afternoon we have been witnessing the landfall of a major hurricane in the Mexican state of Oaxaca, right near Puerto Angel. It went right over that little town, we do believe. At the time it was maximum sustained winds were 125 miles an hour. They are reduced just a little bit now down to 120 right near Puerto Angel at this observation. And it's moving toward the northwest about 9 miles an hour. Now, as you know about hurricanes, when they move inland, when they start to get mixed up in the mountains, they lose their strength real fast. The rate at which this is going to occur this time is going to depend a little bit on how fast it moves inland. If it tends to skim the coast just a little bit, then it could prolong the storm with more strength later on, as well as endanger some of the communities farther northwest along the coast. Right now, it appears that it'll gradually edge inland, and if it does do that, then it's going to begin to lose its strength pretty gradually, and they would lose it very rapidly if it moves very far inland, because there's the mountains come almost down to the coastline here in the Sierra Madre del Sur. There are peaks there not very far from the point of landfall, up as high as 12,000 feet or so that can wreck up the lower level circulation of any hurricane, of course. Still have hurricane warnings out. Those are from Puerto Maldonado down to Tapachula. That's down to the border of Guatemala, and they will remain in effect until conditions begin to subside a little bit. Looking at our satellite picture, the visual picture, you can see this eye as it went up the coast, made landfall, and actually already the eye has begun to lose some of its identity. It doesn't show up as much as it did, and that is exactly what we would expect for the landfalling hurricane. We know the storm tides were high. They're estimated up maybe 15 feet or so. The rains also have been torrential. We're concerned about the heavy rain on the slopes of the mountains because the water can come cascading down those slopes in a hurry, and that, of course, could cause both flash floods and mudslides. And once the storm begins to wind down a little bit, the heavy rain and the attendant flooding and mudslides will be the main danger. Still see a lot of bright reds there, indicating some very cold tops, and we're sure over land very heavy rain indeed as this hurricane makes its way off to the northwest. Well, we finally have a storm in the Atlantic after almost a month, but this one here is not going to bother anybody. It's of concern only to shipping. The name is Fabian. It's already over 1,000 miles east of Bermuda and moving rapidly now toward the east-northeast at about 30 miles an hour. And that will die out down over here in the eastern Atlantic somewhere in the next couple of days. A little bit right in here is where the center of circulation center is. On the infrared pictures, it's a little hard to determine exactly where the center is. Now, the upper winds still feature a trough over the West Atlantic, but a very large high-pressure ridge associated with Hurricane Pauline. And you'll notice also that some of that ridging has extended up into the Gulf of Mexico, where we do have quite a concentration of showers. So the upper winds are getting a little bit more favorable there. But yet, in spite of all the heavy rain we see there, we're not seeing anything yet that looks like any tropical cyclone development is imminent at all. Out in the Atlantic, we continue to see some tropical waves holding together, and we'll show you this one right out here, but as you can see, it doesn't have any bright white clouds concentrated very much. In the Caribbean, we still have strong northwest winds at upper levels, and even though we have some showers there, we wouldn't expect any development on that account. Again, here in the western Gulf, widespread area of showers, as you know, up on the upper Texas coast and inland. Some very heavy rain has occurred during the day, and that rain continues to come down. Finally, we have the Olaf here, which is a tropical depression way out here, not bothering anybody, edging toward the east. That's tropics. Back to Mike.